It's dangerous to podcast alone. Take this. Hey, listen. Welcome to the Zelda Filmcast. I'm your host, David Reese, in the show where we adventure across the realms of Hyrule and the silver screen. And today we're covering the whole purpose of the podcast, everything we know about the Zelda movie coming up so far. Today's random Zelda wiki article is the boss challenge. And this is actually not something I've encountered before. This was a mode added to Ocarina of Time D when they remade it on the 3DS. And this is kind of a replay bosses from Ocarina of Time once you beat the Forest Temple. I didn't know you could do this, but it kind of puts you back on where you were. So even if you go back to fight Goma, you'll still only have 3 hearts and only the items you had at the time. So it's not like you can try to defeat Goma with fire arrows. They won't let you do that. I think it's interesting. You can go for high score. I say high scores. You can go for a time record. It keeps tally of how many times you defeat a boss, and then it keeps track of the quickest time you were able to defeat a boss given that same starting point. Pretty cool concept. When I first saw the article name, I was thinking, is this like Ganon's Tower in Wind Waker where it's just all the bosses? But not quite. So last episode, I just kind of rambled on about New Year, Not New Me. If you want to go check that out, go check it out in your podcast app of choice. If you have comments or thoughts you'd like to contribute, feel free to send it into the show. We have a send a message link in the show notes that I mention every once in a while, but I like to remind the listeners that it's there. You can also email it, and I try to be semi-active on X under this handle, ZeldaFilmcast. But today, we're going to be talking about our main purpose of this podcast is bridging film and movies with being a huge Zelda fan and Legend of Zelda series. We're over a year from release. As far as we know, they're still filming and production is underway. The movie is expected to come out May 7th, 2027. What do we know about this? A couple things. We know the actors and actress playing Link and Zelda. Accordingly, it's Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, and then we have Bo Bragason as Zelda. I'm glad I've talked about this before. I think we did a casting episode. I'm glad that they got some young, new talent in these roles. I'm hoping they don't try to chalk the movie full of big, recognizable names. I hope they go more for the art direction. Actors that see acting as an art and want to portray the story rather than just big name actors in it for the paycheck. I know I've been a little critical of the Mario Brothers movie for doing that. It could go many ways. It could be like the original Mario Brothers movie back in 90, 91, 92, or it could be something, it's probably going to be more likely up to par with a modern day fantasy epic. We did get some insight on how that modern day live action feel might work with this because director Wes Ball is attached. And if you've been following this show, we did a little series on the movies directed by Wes Ball. We'll probably revisit those. The Maze Runner, there's a lot to say. But The Maze Runner and Rise of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a mouthful to say, I think that's the word. I thought those were great movies, great young adult movies, which is what I believe this Zelda movie is going to strive to be. It's probably going to cater more so to the young adult genre, but then also to us fans of the Zelda series as well. What does Wes bring to the table other than just being attached to Maze Runner and Planet of the Apes movies. Well, he's done interviews before where he's mentioned that he's kind of has a vision for this movie to be like a live action Miyazaki film. Another director I've covered on this podcast before. We'll probably do more of his movies in the coming year. We don't know quite how cartoony, cel-shaded stuff might be digitally altered or how realistic and edgy. I don't know what they're going to use their CGI graphic animation budget for in this kind of movie. I know there's a emphasis on practical effects, and this is live action. And I'm hoping they do actual stunts, and seeing a horseback battle has to happen. If they're going to go all this trouble to make it live action and they want it to be a big production, there's got to be a horseback battle. I feel like that's the case. Plot-wise, we know nothing about this movie. All we know is it's probably going to have Ganon as the antagonist, and all we know is that Link and Zelda are in it. We have not been given a lick of detail on what this movie is going to be about. Is it going to be an adaptation of a game? Are they going to blend the plot line of several games into one? Like, example, if they did Ocarina of Time as a base, but then they had you sail on the King of Red Lions and wear masks to change Link's shape, or change Link's appearance, change Link into other creatures. That'd be like a blend. What else we know about the production? What else we know about this movie? We do know it's co-funded. There's two major players in this. Nintendo, obviously, but then we also have Sony Pictures, which is noted is considerably a different division of Sony Interactive. These aren't the same people that Sony Pictures are like the Sony Movies people. Sony Interactive is like the PlayStation people. Then they are no way connected, or they're super different parts of the business. For a while, I thought, are they trying to do like a PlayStation thing? That's not really on brand with Nintendo. And looking into it, yeah, it's not going to be anything along those lines. It's Sony Pictures. And this last week, I happened to be recording this at a good time. Sony and Netflix, their partnership continues to grow, and it's been confirmed that after the theatrical run of the Zelda movie, the streaming home for the Legend of Zelda movie will be on Netflix. They have secured the streaming rights after the theatrical run. I feel like there's going to be stuff for us fans to re-watch and notice on repeat watch throughs of this. Just like the Mario movie is just full of Mario Easter eggs, the Zelda movie is going to be the same way. The mental exercise I was having, and the part that's going to be challenging, and they probably already have it figured out if they're this far into production, but there's the silent protagonist dilemma. Famously in the Zelda games, Link doesn't have explicit dialogue. He has implicit dialogue where a character might say, I'm sorry to hear that, if Link, just kind of gestures at recapping the story up to that point. But as a game series, the Nintendo had designed and created Link to act as a stand-in for the player. They wanted the player in the early Zelda games, and they just kind of kept it up as the series progressed. They wanted the player to project a personality or project themselves onto the avatar of Link. And Link was just a placeholder name in the story. And that way you could use your imagination as a player, think about what he would say and do, and add that role play element to RPG. But now that they're doing a movie, it's going to be a pretty tough sell to have a movie where the main character doesn't talk. And honestly, I feel like in the next couple months, maybe like a year from release, Nintendo, knowing them, maybe for the 40th anniversary of Zelda next month, they'll probably release a teaser where Link says like one word, maybe Navi or Zelda, just one vague word, just to get fans going and to start the hype. But maybe they don't want to start the hype in the marketing cycle too early. So that's why I would think a good time would be the 40th anniversary, but they might also push it to like a 1 year out kind of thing. That way the marketing cycle doesn't go over a year, especially if the movie's still in production. I don't know how much material marketing would even have to work with at this point. Now, there was a movie on Hulu with Nicolas Cage called Willy's Wonderland, and this is before they made the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Basically, it was the same concept, just with Willy the Weasel instead of Freddy Fazbear. But that movie, Nicolas Cage, give him as much gruff as you will, he did the movie as a silent protagonist. He did that as a choice, and his role didn't have any lines. Characters around him interacted with him, and he was able to get through it. But that's a different setting. That's more of a horror genre. That wasn't. I'm assuming we're going to have an ensemble cast. There's got to be interactions between characters. Whereas if it's one in just a few people interacting, then you really don't need to communicate verbally all the time. I'm pretty confident they're not going to go the silent protagonist route. I feel like if they want this movie to appeal to the masses and broader audiences, having a main character that doesn't talk will definitely alienate most people. Obviously, they have hook, line, and sinker for people like us, but for people that aren't as invested in the Zelda or even Nintendo, it might be a deal breaker for them. That's pretty much what we know about this movie so far. We've seen some leaked pictures online. They've posted a picture of Link and Zelda in their outfits, but we haven't seen an official trailer or teaser quite yet for this. Personally, I have hopes for this film. Obviously, myself and a lot of people on the Zelda internet have like a fairy tale wish list of things the movie includes. Everyone wants Majora to make a comeback, or they think Fierce Deity would look cool, or what about Spirit Tracks? Let's have a train. I don't know. There's over 20 main games to choose from. Have they hit 30 with Age of Imprisonment yet? But there's so much content for them to pull from. They're not going to be able to pull an Easter egg from everything. And we didn't even talk about the Zelda TV show that I think is now streaming on Amazon, if I saw that right. So we'll probably do some episodes on that. That'll be a fun watch along series. It's pretty wild with like what kids animation was back then and the choices the people made with Link and Ganon and Zelda. This wasn't a Nintendo production. It was licensed by Nintendo, and some other group made it. And I believe the group doesn't exist anymore, to show how successful they were. I just want this film to be good, which is a pretty broad statement, a pretty vague and generic term. If I wanted to define good, I want it to be coherent, well received, and to push a boundary of what Zelda is. What that boundary is, I don't know yet. How he interacts with items and characters, how they're going to tie it in. Are they going to tie it in with a game? How are they going to acknowledge the game series and all the lore? Like, there's so much Zelda lore that's been retconned and reworked multiple times. Are they going to acknowledge that? I just want it to be a standalone story that's coherent, but also have one or two threads if they want to make sequels. Obviously, I want them to make sequels to it. Mario movie was very safe, having a very predictable, pretty generic plot line. I hope with a young adult film like The Legend of Zelda movie, they respect a slightly older audience and gives some more complexity to the movie. Hoping to have guests on in the future and not like no one famous. Maybe if the show gets popular or big enough. And I want to be consistent. 2026, I'm going to be consistent every 2 weeks. Now, the next couple weeks, I have every other series I'm going to be doing for this show, which you'll see. One of them will be a Let's Play or a play along, however you call it in podcast language. I'll be playing Ocarina of Time, and each episode will probably go up through a dungeon. So this year, if you want to get Ocarina of Time and you want to play along, I'm probably going to do the Star Wars saga this year. Knock all those movies out. Those are a great series that I love, and there's a lot of hero villain stuff in that can connect to Zelda. And there's just fun movies as well. So that's going to be it for the episode. If you like what you heard, tell a friend and leave us a review. Thanks for listening, and as always, may the Triforce be with you.